In this age of ego, in this age of individualism, humility is a key ingredient for individual success, team success, and leadership success. These are the findings of a University of Washington study from their Foster School of Business. They came up with what is the key ingredient for all types of success for the organization and for the individual in the workplace. And they figured that humility was a key ingredient. Sounds very ironical, but true. So what is this humility and how do we practice it in the workplace? So humility is to have a good and a correct estimation of the good and the bad within us. Not so high, not so low, but an accurate estimation of where we stand. Humility also connects to teachability. How teachable are we? How willing are we to learn from our own mistakes and from others? Humility also connects with learning how to appreciate the success of others around us. Now, humility does not mean that you're a doormat. Humility does not mean that you can't set boundaries. Humility does not mean that you can't be tough. And humility does not lead to depression. Depression is only a symptom of an inflated false ego. So when we hear that humility is a key ingredient for success, how do we know, how do we introspect within ourselves and catch ourselves whether we're practicing humility or we're missing the game in humility? Few things here. The first thing is, how do we respond in the workplace when we as individuals or as leaders are being celebrated? Are we really happy and are taking full credit for our success? Or are we mindful of celebrating that success and including all those people, all those individuals who have contributed to the success of that particular project? So that's number one. Number two is, how do we deal with criticism? Criticism of the ideas we present, criticism of the work that we have done, criticism of the decisions we have made in the workplace. Are we self-confident enough to accept that criticism and learn from it, grow from it? Or are we trying to push back and say that, no, nothing I did was wrong, everything I did was perfect? So that's number two. Number three is, how do we deal with competition? So how do we deal with other brands that we're competing with? Do we underestimate them? Or we never underestimate our competition? That's another sign of humility. How do we deal with competitors within different product divisions? Do we underestimate them? Are we boastful, or are we trying to put them down? Or are we respectful and are we trying to make friends with them and learn from them and their success? How do we deal with those higher than us? How do we deal with those lower than us? Are we compassionate? Are we helping those lower than us to grow? So these are the few things when you learn how to be mindful of, you catch yourself on the humility yardstick as to where you stand. Now, humility, this type of humility, brings a lot of different types of successes in the workplace. Number one is, team members like to be with someone who is willing to learn, willing to collaborate, willing to celebrate success with them. Team members are willing to work for leaders who are humble and who are fearless enough to hire those who are much better in their work ethic and in their qualifications. So it creates a very good relationship within the team. This type of humility also leads to a lot of innovation. Innovation because you're humble enough to accept that there's a lot of products and people around you that are much better. The methods of working are much better. So when you're willing to learn from that and incorporate it into your ideas, there's a lot of innovation and value addition that happens. Humility also leads to lower employee turnover, because people are happy being in such environments, and people are happy because they're being heard, their ideas are being valued, their opinions are being valued. Their manager doesn't think that they are a threat to them. So some people like to be in such companies. So humility has many, many advantages in this current scenario as well, no matter how individualistic and how egoistic we've all gotten. So humility is a muscle, a virtue that we can all cultivate, and you want to focus on these things, and you want to focus on your own teachability and having an accurate estimation of your own worth. One very important component of keeping yourself humble and remembering humility is making humility easy for you, is to remember that all the abilities we have are coming from a source, a divine source. They're coming from Krishna, they're coming from God. God is the ability in man. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Paurusham Nishu, I am the ability in man. So when we recognize that the gifts that we have are coming from our source, and we're just here to be instruments to utilize those gifts in furthering our companies, furthering our work, and furthering our purpose in life. So when we are always tuned to this, it helps us remain conscientiously humble. So good luck with your journey in humility, and wishing you all success in the workplace. Thank you.